Okay, picture this. You walk into a new room, and instantly, almost like a physical reflex, you cannot sit down and relax until you know exactly how you'd get out if things went completely sideways. Sound familiar? If you're nodding your head right now, well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking what we call the architecture of survival. We're going to figure out exactly why some of us feel physically incapable of just entering a situation without already knowing how we're going to survive it if the rug suddenly gets pulled out from under us.
So let's say you're meeting a friend for a quick coffee, right? Now, most people, they just show up, look for a table, order a latte, and that's the whole shebang. But not you. No way. Before you even stepped out your front door, you already checked 3 different parking options, because you don't trust that the first one's going to be open. You've mapped the exits in the coffee shop. You've already mentally rehearsed a super polite excuse to leave, just in case the vibe feels off. You don't just have a plan A, you've got a plan B, a plan C, and honestly, a burn it all down and go home plan D sitting right there in your back pocket.
Now your friends, they might look at this exact behavior and call it paranoia. They might gently tell you that you're just, a lot to deal with sometimes. But we are going to completely reframe this for you today. Because that intense mental preparation, it is not a personality flaw, it is an absolute survival masterpiece.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the trained nervous system, and why your brain plays high-stakes mental chess. To really understand why your brain is constantly playing mental chess while everyone else is perfectly happy playing checkers, we have to look at a pretty fascinating psychological concept called a high-contingency environment. Basically, this is an upbringing where your actions have immediate consequences and absolutely no safety net exists. You're just forced to navigate the world alone. Think about growing up as a latchkey kid, coming home to a totally empty house at 8 years old. Or maybe you watched your parents' supposedly super stable lives get completely upended by a sudden divorce or unexpected corporate layoffs. Growing up in those environments trained your brain with one very specific, very hard lesson. Safety is a luxury, it's not a guarantee, and no one is coming to save you. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it fundamentally changes our perspective on all those meticulously crafted backup plans. Having 17 different contingencies for a simple outing, that isn't about you just being a negative person. Because you spent your formative years without that safety net, your brain literally learned to operate on a totally different frequency. You are simply predicting consequences in real time. It's the exact same mechanism that kept you safe when you were a kid, now just actively running in the background of your adult life. Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 2, the rug pull reflex, and what happens when the rules of the world change. So, if we look at the macro-level generational milestones for Gen X and Xennials, it's pretty wild to see how this reflex was systematically trained over decades. In the 1980s, you had those highly independent, latchkey childhood experiences. Then you move into the 90s and you enter the workforce, only to watch corporate pink slips getting handed out to deeply loyal employees by the thousands. And then, just as you're trying to establish your own career and family in the 2000s, massive economic bubbles start bursting left and right. All of these chronological milestones taught these generations an incredibly clear lesson. Always expect the floor to drop out at any given second. And because of this continuous, non-stop exposure to instability, you developed a mechanism psychologists actually call defensive pessimism. It's the psychological strategy of expecting the worst-case scenario so you can mentally prepare. It acts almost like a lighthouse in the dark. And it is absolutely crucial to understand that this is not some kind of mean-spirited cynicism, not at all. It's simply the result of learning over a very long time that the only person you can truly rely on to fix a slipping bike chain or, a failing life plan is yourself. You're crossing your fingers for the best, for sure, but you are always prepared for the worst. Which brings us to Section 3, control over the chaos. We're going to look at the really fascinating contradiction of the backup plan. And this brilliantly illustrates how defensive pessimism manifests in our daily lives today. Because there is this fascinating, almost funny contradiction at play here. Have you ever noticed that you can stay eerily calm and collected when a massive macro-level life crisis hits, but then you will literally experience a total, absolute meltdown over something as minor as a dirty coffee mug, right? To an outside observer, it seems entirely backward. Until you understand the mechanics behind it. You see, you've already fundamentally accepted that the big stuff, the economy, the weather, other people's drama, that's entirely beyond your control. So the crucial point is that because you can't control the massive chaos of the outside world, you take all of that intense backup plan energy and you hyper-focus it on the small stuff. You tightly control the lighting in your room, the noise levels, knowing exactly where the exits are, and rigidly managing your daily schedule.
For someone with high sensitivity or past experiences of instability, focusing on these little details isn't a luxury. It creates a vital safe harbor. This control is literally survival.
So here we are at Section 4, the reframe. Let's talk about why you are a survival masterpiece.
If this explainer is hitting a little close to home for you today, I really, truly want you to absorb this reframe. You are not broken for needing a plan. You are not doing life wrong. Those crazy color-coded spreadsheets you make for a simple weekend trip or loading up 3 different GPS routes before you drive somewhere new, they don't mean you're crazy. It means you have what we call a mechanical intuition for life. You are part of a bridge generation that knows exactly how to navigate a storm completely independently. You don't need the world to entertain you or provide this perfectly safe, paved path for you, because you've already figured out exactly how to build that path yourself, no matter what happens.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative question straight from our source material. What is the most extreme backup plan you have ever made? Like, was it a secret exit strategy for a relative's wedding? A hidden stash of snacks for a perfectly normal 20-minute meeting? Tell me in the comments below. I genuinely read them all because I value that kind of existential authenticity way, way more than small talk. If you found this breakdown helpful and you want more deep psychological dives that actually explain why you are the way you are, make sure to subscribe to The Explainer. I'll see you in the next one, unless, of course, Plan B happens.